So picture this, 19th century India. It's a time of massive change. But we're not just talking about a political fight against colonial rule. No, this was a war from within, an intellectual and social one. Okay, let's dive into the incredible story of the great reformers who dared to wake up an entire society.
You know, this line from Rabindranath Tagore, it just perfectly sums up the spirit of India's first social reformers. These were pioneers, right? Often totally on their own, walking this incredibly tough path, ready to challenge centuries of tradition when pretty much no one else would.
So that's the big question, isn't it? To really get a sense of their courage, you have to understand the sheer weight of what they were up against. What were these chains that they were so determined to break?
I mean, just look at what they were facing. This wasn't just about old traditions. Some of these customs were brutal. You had sati, where widows were forced onto their husband's funeral pyre. The caste system, which locked people into a rigid, oppressive hierarchy from the day they were born. For women, things like child marriage and polygamy were the norm. And on top of it all, a lack of modern, scientific education meant that reason and logic were often pushed aside. The stakes really couldn't have been higher.
And so, the first real spark in this great awakening, it gets lit in Bengal. And the man holding the torch was a visionary intellectual named Raja Ram Mohan Roy.
People often call him the father of modern India, and for good reason. The man was a true polymath, a genius. He mastered so many languages, from Sanskrit to English, which gave him this unique ability to build a bridge between Eastern and Western thinking. After a stint with the East India Company, he just dedicated his whole life to public service, using his incredible mind to argue for a new way forward.
So what was Roy's secret weapon in all this? It was one big, powerful idea: rationalism. He argued that our own reason, our own logic, should be the final judge. Now, in a society that was so governed by tradition, you just didn't question. This was, well, it was revolutionary. He believed that even the most sacred texts had to stand up to logical scrutiny. For him, the idea was simple. If a practice doesn't make sense, you've got to question it. It doesn't matter if it's been around for 1,000 years. And he didn't just keep this idea in a book. He took it everywhere. He championed the belief in one God over the worship of many. He argued against idol worship. And on the social front, he led the charge to get rid of sati, a cause that was deeply personal for him after what happened to his own sister-in-law. He even started a college that mixed Indian learning with Western science and launched newspapers to get his ideas out to as many people as possible.
And then you get to 1829. This is a huge year. After years and years of relentless campaigning, of petitioning the British authorities, the absolutely horrific practice of sati was officially banned by law. This was the first major, tangible victory for the whole reform movement. It was proof that one person's conviction could actually change the world.
But see, Roy was more than just one man with a big idea. He was a movement starter. That single spark he lit, it soon grew into a raging fire of reform, mostly through an organization he created.
It all starts in 1828, when he founded the Brahmo Sabha, which later became the Brahmo Samaj. After Roy, the movement was really shaped by two other giants. First, the thoughtful Debendranath Tagore, and later, the incredibly charismatic Keshab Chandra Sen, who took the movement all across India. But, as you can probably guess, when you have that much growth and that many big personalities, disagreements are bound to happen. And that led to the first major split in 1866.
So what was the big fight about? Well, it really boiled down to one thing. How do you actually do reform? On one side, you had Tagore's group, the Adi Brahmo Samaj. They wanted to work from within Hinduism, taking a more gradual, cautious approach. On the other side was Sen's Brahmo Samaj of India. They were way more radical, way more cosmopolitan, pulling ideas from all religions and pushing hard for aggressive changes, like intercaste marriage.
And oh, the story doesn't stop there. In what has to be one of the biggest ironies of the whole movement, Keshab Chandra Sen, the great reformer who fought against child marriage, actually arranged for his own 13-year-old daughter to marry a Maharaja. This was a huge deal. It caused another split, and his disillusioned followers broke away to form the Sartharan Brahmo Samaj, which was structured to be much more democratic.
But here's the thing about a powerful idea. It can't be contained in just one organization. The Brahmo Samaj basically opened the floodgates, and pretty soon new voices with totally different styles started to emerge.
Okay, so first up you have the Young Bengal movement. Think of them as the radical rebels of their day. They were a group of students led by this magnetic teacher, Henry de Rosio. And their whole philosophy was to question everything: social rules, religious beliefs, all authority. They were fiery, they were confrontational, and they wanted to shock the old guard into thinking differently.
And then, on the complete other end of the spectrum, you've got Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. He was a brilliant Sanskrit scholar, a college principal, and above all, a pragmatist. He wasn't really interested in fiery debates. Instead, he worked inside the system. He decided to focus all of his incredible intellect and energy on getting one specific, crucial law changed.
And you know what? His hyper-focused, pragmatic approach worked. Big time. In 1856, thanks to his relentless lobbying and his genius use of ancient texts to back up his arguments, the Hindu Widows Remarriage Act was passed. This was another massive victory, giving widows the legal right to remarry, a right that had been denied for centuries.
Now, an idea this powerful isn't just going to stay in one place, right? The fire that was lit in Bengal, well, it started to spread. Like ripples in a pond, the call for reform began to move west, landing in the region of Maharashtra.
And you can literally trace the path of this idea on a map. First, the Brahmo ideas take root in Bengal. Then, Keshav Chandra Sen himself goes on these tours through Maharashtra, inspiring the thinkers there. And that directly leads to local reformers like Atmaram Pandurang founding their own organization, the Prarthana Samaj, or Prayer Society, in Bombay.
But this wasn't just a copy-paste job. They took the core ideas and really adapted them. You see, while the Brahmo Samaj in Bengal was all about this direct, head-on confrontation with religious tradition, the Prarthana Samaj in Maharashtra was a bit more cautious. Their main focus was on social reform, things like education and helping the poor. And they tried to get things done through persuasion and social service, which was a better fit for the more conservative society there.
So when you step back and look at the big picture, all these reformers, from Roy to Vidyasagar, they were challenging a millennium of tradition. Think about that. They faced being kicked out of their communities, they faced hostility, they were ridiculed, and it just leaves you with this really profound question. What is it that gives a society, or even just a few brave people, the courage to look at its most deeply held beliefs and say, you know what? We can do better.